Hello and welcome to MyScience Tutorials. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how to use the quadratic formula. Before we begin, if you are new to MyScience Tutorials, kindly consider subscribing and pressing that notification button so that you don't miss any of our latest tutorials on biology, chemistry, mathematics, and physics. So let's go ahead. Now, most often when we are solving mathematical problems, we tend to come across equations that are of the form as squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Such an equation is an example of what? A quadratic equation. Now, because the x term over here is raised to the second power, there are what? Two values of what? X. That makes this equation to be equal to 0. For us to be able to find such values, there are three methods of finding the values of x, or the roots of the equation. We have, first of all, the method of factorization, which is an example of one of the methods that we use to find the roots of the equation. We also have the method of completing the squares, which is also another example of the methods used to find the roots of the equation. Now, the last method, which is the use of the quadratic formula, is what we are going to deal with today. So the quadratic formula is given to us by what? S is equal to minus b plus or minus root of what? B squared minus 4ac all over what? 2a. Now, given an example in the form, let's say s squared plus 3x minus 4, it means our value of a for this equation is what? 1, because the coefficient of the s squared term is what we are calling the a. So the a is 1 over here. Then the b is what? Is the positive 3 that we have over here. And then our c is the negative 4 that we have over here. So putting all these values into this formula, we can now find the values of x, which will make this equation to be equal to what? 0, and which we are calling the roots of the equation. Now let's have a look at an example to appreciate what we are talking about. So we are to use the quadratic formula to find the values of, to find the root of the equation s squared plus x minus 6 is equal to 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and write our solution. So solution. First of all, we want to compare this equation s squared plus x minus 6 is equal to 0 to the general form of the quadratic equation as squared plus what? Bx plus what? C is equal to 0. So if we compare these two equations, we can say that our a, the value of our a is 1, our b is also 1, and then our c is what? Negative 6. So from here we can quote our quadratic equation formula, which is given to us by what? S is equal to negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over what? 2a. So from here we just substitute the values of a, b, and c into this equation, and we further simplify to obtain our solution. So our negative b becomes what? Our negative 1 plus or minus root of what? B squared is what? 1 squared minus 4. The a is 1. C is what? Negative 6 all over 2. A is what? 1. So from here we further simplify and we have negative 1 plus or minus root of 1 squared is 1. Then negative 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by negative 6 will give us what? Positive 24 all over what? 2 multiplied by 1 is 2. So we have s is equal to negative 1 plus or minus root of what? 25 over 2. From here we have negative s to be equal to what? Negative 1 plus or minus 5 all over 2, because root of 25 is 5. So from here we can have our values of x to be what? Negative 1 plus 5 all over 2, or negative 1, then we use the second sign over here, minus 5 all over 2. Now if we use the plus, we have negative 1 plus 5 will give us 4 over 2, and s over here is 2. Or negative 1 minus 5 will give us negative 6 over 2, and this will give us what? Negative 3. So it means the values of x that will make this equation to be 0 are what? Either positive 2 or negative 3. Hence the root of this equation over here are what? Hence the root of the equation is s is equal to either 2 or negative 3. Alright, let's have a look at what? Another example. Now in this example we are going to look at an equation that we cannot simply factorize and get whole numbers. Alright, so given that we have log x plus y is equal to what? 0, and then log base y x is equal to 2 as two equations, and we have to solve these equations to obtain the value of what? X and y. How are we going to look at this problem? Now first of all, let's write down our solution. So if we take the first equation that we have over here, let's see what we can do about it. So we have log x plus y is equal to what? 0. From here, to make x plus y the subject, we have to find what? Antilog of both sides. And if we find antilog of both sides, this place will become what? X plus y is equal to what? Log inverse of what? 0. So we have x plus y is equal to log inverse of 0 is what? Positive 1. So it means the value of x here is equal to 1 minus what? Y, as what? Our first equation. Alright, so let's take the second one that we have over here. So if we take that one, we have log in base y x is equal to 2. From here, if we want to make s the subject, y will now come and carry the 2 over here as its power, and then the log will go, one of the laws of logarithm. So our x will now be equal to what? Y squared. But from equation 1, our x is equal to what? Our x is equal to what? 1 minus y. So if we substitute that over here, we have what? Sorry, the x now we have is what? 1 minus y is equal to what? Y squared. So from here, let's bring everything to one side so that we can have what? A quadratic equation. So we are bringing everything here to the other side of the equal to sign. So we have y squared, then we have plus y minus 1 is equal to 0. Now we can see that we have a quadratic equation, okay, and then we are to solve this quadratic equation to obtain the value for y before we substitute and get the value for x. So from here, all we have to do is to write down our formula for finding the values of y. So we have y is equal to minus b plus or minus root of what? B squared minus 4ac all over what? 2a. Now from this equation, we can see that the value of a is 1 because the coefficient of y squared is 1. Then the value of b is also 1, and then the value of c is what? Negative 1. So if we substitute all these variables inside, we are going to get y is equal to negative b will now be negative 1 plus or minus root of what? B is 1, so 1 squared minus what? 4. A is 1, c is what? Negative 1 all over what? 2a. Our a is 1, so we have y is equal to negative 1 plus or minus root of, this is 1, then negative 4 multiplied by 1 is negative 4, multiplied by negative 1 will become what? Positive 4 all over 2. So we have y is equal to negative 1 plus or minus root of 5 on 2. So the values of y can either be what? Negative 1 plus root 5 on 2, or -1 minus root 5 all on 2. So if we put this into the calculator, we are going to get our values of what? The values of y. So if we have -1 plus root 5 on 2, if we punch that into the calculator, we are going to get what? 0.62. And if we have -1 minus root 5 all over 2, if we punch this into the calculator, we are going to get -1.62. But because the value of what? Y has to be positive to make this whole equation positive, we are going to take the positive value over here. So it means the value of y is equal to what? 0.62. So we can see that given that we have a log equation and we solved it, we were able to get a quadratic equation from having logarithm, and we have to apply what? The use of the quadratic formula to find the value of y. Now let's go ahead and finish the question. Now that we have our value of y, we just substitute this value of y into the equation from here, and then we get our value of x. So let me use another color for that. So it means our x is now 1 minus what? 0.62. So if we subtract 0.62 from 1, we are going to get 0.38. So it means our value of x is what? 0.38, and then our value of y is 0.62. Now if we add x and y over here, 0.38 plus 0.62 will give us 1, and then log of 1 is equal to 0. Now if you punch into your calculator log in base y, which is what? 0.62, and then the x is what? 0.38, you are going to get 2.021 something something something. So which means what? At the end, our equation, okay, the values of x and y that we got for our equations is correct. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.